Well, welcome back to Theater School Rejects. This is episode 8. We're getting close to our show. You can tell we're getting close to our show because Robert's breaking down with anxiety.
Yay, anxiety!
I'm Doug X with the letter X.
And I'm Robert Kyle with the letters K-Y-L-E. That's really awkward. We gotta fix that.
Change your name. That's what I did.
Perhaps I need to find another letter. Robert Zed. Oh my gosh, I want to be Robert Zed from now on.
I like it.
For, American people, that's Z, but that's how, the UK people say it.
I got into cyberpunk and eventually punk rock all because of a book called Johnny Zed.
Oh, do you remember the author?
Yeah, Beatoncourt. I want to say John J. Beatoncourt, but I'm not sure of that of those first two names.
That does sound familiar, although I have to admit, Doug is a lot more well-read than I just hear a lot about books.
No, but you'd like it. Beatoncourt went on, 20 years after Johnny Zed, he wrote the next 3 books in the Amber series.
Oh. Well, I did actually read through the first couple books of the Amber series, and that's serious reading.
About I guess 10 years after Roger Gelazny's death, they wanted to keep it in the family. So yeah, I think John Gregory Beatoncourt. That's what I'm gonna go with. Anyway, they brought him in to do another series, and I think there's either 3 or 4 books in that series. They're not good. They're really, really not good.
Yeah, well, it's like you said, we mentioned it before, we're talking about the whole multiverse thing and how Zelazny kind of, was first in there. It's like, therapists will make fun of Freud, but then always go back and say, but, he was first. I mean, he may have thought, cocaine was the cure for the demons in your head, but he was really the first person to really broach the subject in the,
Well, yeah, and everything built on him. I'm just saying that it's not about Zelazny's books. I'm saying that Beatoncourt, who is a good writer on his own, just fucked up that universe. I don't know if it was lazy or if it was incompetence, and I haven't decided if he phoned it in or if he just was doing his best. I prefer to think he phoned it in. I like to think that he said, "Man, I need a check. I'll write in someone else's universe," and he just made a couple $100 and spent it on cocaine.
To be fair, I mean, I was, to where I was reading, the point where I was reading, I wasn't sure where you could take it. You're talking about the absolute limits of existence. These people reside, there's amber and then the opposite and the polar opposite. And I feel like you're starting off writing yourself in a corner because you found one edge. You're starting on the wall of the map, like the point where the video game puts the invisible wall and you can go no further. Either you say, no, just kidding, they thought that was, the ultimate end of reality, but there's more, or you say...
Well, they do that, actually, in the... did you read the Merlin series?
No.
Well, I think it's actually... No, it's in the first series. They always thought amber was the ultimate end of order. And then about the 3rd book in, they're like, oh, look, amber is just a shadow of this actually ultimate order, and the actual ultimate pattern is one past amber. Oh. So it's the penultimate point.
Okay, well, that's kind of where I would have gone with that, too.
Well, he did, in his first series, nonetheless. The second series, did you get to that part, the Merlin series?
No, so I basically read the first couple books, maybe
10.
The first 2 books, I think.
Okay, you got way deep.
Hey, the first one was, there's a lot going on.
No, they're so short. Those 40,000 word novels. If you see the paperback, they're about 1/3 the size of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which itself is a fairly short novel nowadays.
Okay, maybe it felt long back when I read it, which probably was double digits in years ago.
Right? Well, shit. I started with the second book in the second series when I was about. It was a summer camp trip, so I was in summer camp. Oh man, must have been 12 or 13, or maybe younger, maybe 10. That's a good book when you're 10. It's still my favorite books. In fact, I don't know if I mentioned, they have audiobooks of them now. Oh. And Riker narrates the second 5 books in the series, or sort of the second series of 5 books.
Oh, you mean Jonathan Frakes?
Yeah, 6 through 10 are all narrated by Riker. And it's interesting because... Oh, no, not Riker. No. Ensign Crusher.
Oh, shut up, Wesley. Will Wheaton. Yes,
Will
that's
Wheaton
right.
narrates books 6 through 10 of the Amber series. Plug for Audible. If you don't have the Audible download, get that on your phone and listen to Will Wheaton, who's a talented actor, but kind of sucks as a voice actor.
I just love the stuff he does. Have you watched him play, board games with celebrities, with, C and B list celebrities, nerd celebrities?
YouTube channel?
Yeah, he does it. It's actually run by what's her name from Dr. Horrible. Felicia Day. Yes, Felicia Day runs a Geek and Sundry, I think, and no, it's just a bunch of different board games, beer and pretzels games, and Will Wheaton with a bunch of people. So, when you're done listening to this, guys, go ahead and switch it over and check that out. And
which is better, but we're getting better. Like, everyone agrees that our last podcast was better than our first podcast.
My voice is coming back, and we're starting to think of more and more things to talk about. Speaking of which, in the theme of the upcoming show being, and the whole podcast being called Theater School Rejects, stopped by good old Long Beach City College today, which was weird because I hadn't been there in 15 years, and that's where I first studied theater. And so a lot of what's going on in the play Spear Carriers and the fourth wall stuff, talking about, and I started thinking about both, being in theater classes and taking it so seriously. So being half of, or more than that, the originator of Theater School Rejects, what's your experience with theater school, or theater students?
Okay, well, I went, so college, I did 4 years in the military, as you know, was 4 years in the Coast Guard, got out, and went to college a couple years later, after seeing what the real world was like, and went to California Maritime Academy for a year and got kicked out of there for leading a revolution. And
Awesome.
And then I transferred to Cal State Long Beach as a theater major because I wanted to take all these classes on playwriting, so I wanted to write plays. And the first semester, my playwriting class got canceled, and it was never offered again. So my theater school started and ended with disappointment. That's my experience in theater school. I was actually pretty good, in the opening classes. Like, I was good at improv stuff, and because thinking on my feet is something I'm good at and still do as a lawyer. But emotional range, I have an emotional range of deadpan to slightly less deadpan. So, and a leading man looks like, if you had a leading man and he got the shit kicked out of him in like 12 cage fights, he would still look about 100 times better than me.
Aww.
So the only thing we would have in common at that point is that I've also had the shit kicked out of me in 12 cage fights. So that I don't know. So asking the question back at you, what was your experience in theater school?
I was a 16-year-old college student, 17-year-old college dropout, but in that, semester and a half that took place between those ages, I fell in love with theater culture. And looking back at it now, I think it's ridiculous. People practicing, their vocal exercises. I think that's the number one thing people make fun of, the yee, 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 yow, 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 all those things. By the way, we should probably do those before we do this podcast. But I was just in love with it. I was sure I wanted to be an actor. I'm turning 41 next week, and still don't know what I want to be. Still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. But back then, I was sure I was going to be an actor. And I got really into Shakespeare, memorized a little bit of a, Midsummer Night's Dream, just enough to try to become a hit with the ladies. And
Well, that part worked.
Mixed success. But at least I know how to find other people who are interested in Shakespeare, which again, Spear Carriers touches on beautifully. It resonates with me quite a bit, and
you should read his book, The Bard of Orange County. So again, Joshua Snyder, who wrote the play we're doing, Spear Carriers, is a comic at Flappers. He has his own podcast called the Josh Cast, and has almost no listeners except for me. And that's something that's damn voyeuristic, is listening to someone's podcast when they reveal their innermost thoughts, and you're the only person listening. Like, I know they're pointing out to the world, but it doesn't count if you're the one view, until he knows that you just heard it and no one else has. It's a very interesting type of stalking. Anyway, he wrote a book called The Bard of Orange County, which has Shakespeare pop up through some, Deus Ex Machina bullshit into an Orange County theater program.
That sounds right up my alley.
It's really, really good. Like, it was so good that I wanted to beat the crap out of him for writing it, and I didn't write it.
Yeah.
Which is about like that's as positive reaction as I can have.
Too bad it was a preemptive plagiarism.
No, I just mean that like the most admiration I'm capable of feeling is wanting to beat you up for it for not being me.
I wish that was my idea, and if you had waited, it would have been sort of by preemptive plagiarism, which I wanted.
Well, I wouldn't have done it. I just wish I did it. No, when I write, it's all about Donald Trump being a necromancer and succubi, with big wings and sword fights. There's not a single sword fight in Port Orange County. I couldn't have written on a bet.
Well, I like sword fights, which reminds me one of the things I studied when talking about my theater school experience. I got to study stage combat, which later on, having that training and acting, movement, and all that, thanks to Anthony Carrera, who I found out is actually still teaching there. Actually, thanks to that experience, actually landed me a gig working with Jedi Training Academy when it first opened at Disneyland, and that's how I became Darth Vader.
Did you list your stage combat as a class?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It's probably the most valuable, little thing I got out of a school.
I wanted to actually share something similar, like how theater school training came in like oddly helpful out of context. So I took a class called, I think, Voice, which is all about like breathing and connecting your diaphragm to it. It was all about just, like I said, voice exercises, but the teacher was amazing. And she spent like 3 weeks lecturing about breathing. And she also said the helpful thing to me. She goes, there's a limit to how good your enunciation can ever be with a giant metal thing through your tongue. Because by the time I went to college, I had a tongue piercing already. And I still do because I don't change.
Ladies.
But so a couple years after that, I'm going through National Guard boot camp training. So I joined the military a second time because I don't learn. And there's a part of Army training, Army basic training that I do for everybody, where they make you go into a shack, a cabin, all entirely filled with tear gas.
Jeez.
And I'm like freaking out. And I've got this gas mask on, which is not a pleasant thing to have on if you're not a gas mask fetishist, and I'm not, though I have a couple of friends who are. I won't mention them by name, but they live in San Francisco. And I'm like trying to relay on this breathing technique to keep calm. So like calm is breath is calm, and I'm taking these deep breaths, which is not entirely great because like the seal is like half broken, and I'm getting like some tear gas coming in. And I'm like, I mentioned it to the drill sergeant. I'm like, Sergeant, I think my seal is broken. And he goes helpfully, what do you want from me, Private? And then, this is the really fun part. Once you're all inside, they say, okay, now take your mask off.
Oh, jeez.
And take a deep breath. So there you are. Army basic training, it guarantees a lung full of tear gas to every single person who goes through. That's a guarantee. I was luckily, was I? Like, half the people threw up. I'm trying to remember if I was one of them, or if I just had like burning eyes and just, yeah, I don't remember. Let's just say for the story that I threw up afterwards. There you go. Okay, so anyway, remembering voice and theater work in Army basic training while breathing natural gas, tear gas rather.
That's impressive. Actually, really quick, I actually had a similar experience as a security guard.
Breathing tear gas?
Pepper spray.
Who sprayed you?
The owner of the company. We had a company meeting, and then the owner of the company, who was kind of a jerk, closed up the doors and windows, sprayed a bunch of pepper spray in the air. With the thinking, if you're going to carry pepper spray, you should know what it's like to get a little blowback in your face, be able to be ready to handle it. So I learned, I hope it's still true, I actually have a very fortunate chemistry because while my eyes were running, my nose was running, I was able to, I was fine. I was, a couple people threw up, a couple people were reacting pretty poorly, and for some reason, I guess I just have a fortunate chemistry when it comes to airborne capsaicin,
pathogens.
The stuff that makes pepper spicy.
Oh, I don't know.
It's spelled capation. It's one of those words that you've only seen written down, so you don't know how to pronounce them. But yeah, I'm sure somebody comment a link on how to pronounce that word.
And all of these podcasts, by the way, are up on YouTube and on Libsyn. It looks like YouTube is getting more hits than the Libsyn, but either way, if you put comments and ask questions, we will answer them to the best of our ability. So please post questions, ideas. We'll try and incorporate them. We have seen some comments, and I really appreciated those. Brian, Justin, Darcy, thank you for commenting.
Yeah, much love. Also, come out and see us in Flappers in Burbank on the 22nd.
9:30. Just $10 a pop. That won't even buy you half a rail.